Hey people, I like that again. Hi people, you're welcome to the 4th episode of Starting Over series with Joy Ajik. We're grateful to God for another opportunity that He has given to us to learn at His feet. This month we'll be discussing the second part of We Will Not Bow. Last month we discussed the inner man, the power of the mind, and ways through which you can say no to those things that pop up in your life and require your bowing at certain points. And so today we'll be looking at the outward man. Last time we established the fact that a human being has two parts, the inner man and the outward man. This month we'll be looking at the outward man. The outward man is that physical appearance of a person that you see. And usually it's that part of you that has the 5 senses. You see the eye, the ears, and the 5 senses that a normal human being has. Now, whatever goes on within, a physical manifestation is required on the outside. And so the outward man brings it to reality. And so we'll be looking at how do I go about it when I'm faced with situations. Okay, after I've waged the war in my mind, I've thought about it, I've decided this is what I want to do. How do I respond on the outside? That's all we'll be considering this month. And literally, this seems to be something I have gone through as an individual. The apostle makes us understand it's not about the things we've heard or seen, but the things our hands have handled. So there are things that if you do not go through, there is no way you can even talk about it. And so these are things that one has encountered personally. And so I'll be sharing my experience on me not bowing as an outward person. Now, months back, I was faced with a situation at work that required compromise. Yeah, it required me to compromise, and it was really heavy. It was huge. So I took out time. By the time I got home, I sat down. I was thinking about the whole situation. I was in deep thoughts. I was like, how do I go about this situation? And I decided to pray and talk to God about it. Told Him exactly how I felt. And so it all boils back to you telling God exactly how you feel when you're faced with a situation. God knows you. He knows your heart. He knows everything you're going through. So there's no point hiding things from Him. So I took out time and I shared everything with God. I told him, I said, see, this thing is hard on me. I don't know how you want me to do this. I cannot compromise because compromise is not even an option for me as a child of God. And he told me, he said, young lady, go back to your Bible, pick up your Bible and read the book of Daniel chapter 6, the popular story of Daniel in the lion's den. And I was like, that story, I know that story now. But then most times we miss out because we tend to show God that we're familiar with the scriptures. And so anytime you receive an instruction or you have to go through a particular story in the Bible, go through it with an open mind, because I'm sure God will have a message for you at the end of the day. And so I told myself, okay, I was going to study it. So I picked up my Bible and I went through Daniel chapter 6. Now, a lot of times we forget that we have history with God. In the scriptures, you have evidence of things that God has done in the past. And because He has done it in the past, He's not going to let you face shame. And so when you're faced with situations, you're not the first to go through it. Someone has gone through it before. And that's why we have the Bible. When tests arise, it's just like we're going for an exam and you've already been given past questions and you ignore it. There's no way you pass that exam. And so the past question for the current exam I was going to write was given to me. And so I had to go back to the book of Daniel chapter 6. If you go through that story, you realize that Daniel was one of the presidents in the province. It was 120 provinces that King Darius had in that city or kingdom. And then he had 3 presidents. Daniel was one of them. There were a lot of governors under them. And Daniel proved to be different. In his sphere of influence, he had an excellent spirit. That's what the Bible makes us understand. He had an excellent spirit and he carried out his duties diligently. He was loyal and he honored King Darius. Now, among the 3 of them, the king was pleased with Daniel because he had an excellent spirit. And he said, this man is doing well. I'll promote him and make him in charge and overseer of the other leaders. And his colleagues became jealous. So when they became jealous, they sat down and thought, what do we do about this guy? He's going to just come and maneuver us. He's not even from here. Oh. This guy is coming all the way to come and maneuver us and take over position. So let's do something that will get at him with it. And they said, there's nothing we can do. The only option we have is if we temper with his religion, if we temper with his loyalty to his God. I don't know where you are, your working place, your school. It depends wherever you found yourself. Can people actually say, we want to put this person in trouble, we don't have any other means except we temper with his worship to his God or his loyalty to God? So it's important that we show the world that, see, if you're a Christian, be a Christian. Don't hide it. Don't pretend. The reason why a lot of us run away from taking responsibilities to be true Christians is because we are not ready to live up to being Christians. And the people that were referred to as Christians in Antioch back then were called Christians because of their way of life. They lived like Jesus. The question is, are we living like Jesus today? And so they said they were going to temper with his loyalty to his God. So they went and they met the king and said, "Hail thee, king." Now, they were trying to get the king's attention. As they were hailing him, they wanted his attention back to them so that they can make their request known. And when the king gave them their attention, they said to him, we want you to bring a decree that no one should bow or pray to any other god for the next 30 days. And I was wondering, why would they bring that kind of decree? And they said, we want you to do it so that everybody will worship you, will pray. Nobody should pray to any other god. Anybody that is found doing that should be thrown into the lion's den. And then they said he should put a signet on it so that the Medes and the Persians too will obey it. And then it will not be revoked at any point. That law cannot be changed. And the king felt, wow, these people are loyal to me. They came to honor me. They came to show honor. So he decided that, okay. And then they told him that all the leaders had agreed. So that's, say, Daniel inclusive. And he said, okay, no problem. Let's do it that way. And the decree was passed. Everybody should pray to only and bow only to King Darius. Any other god you're bowing to, you'll be punished and put in the lion's den. And so after all of that was put into place, Daniel heard that this was what happened. Now, when Daniel heard, Daniel's response was what blew my mind. He went to his room, opened his windows, the windows to Jerusalem, toward Jerusalem. He knelt down and prayed 3 times like he had always done. Now, there are times that when you are faced with these situations that come and require your bowing, you'll be tempted to pretend. Like for me, someone even told me, I said, Joy, pretend that you will do this thing so that you will not lose your job. And I told him, I said, when Daniel was told not to pray, he didn't go and hide in his room and say, let me pray silent prayer or let me pray in my heart. No, he did what he had always done. He opened his windows towards Jerusalem and knelt down 3 times daily. And the thrilling part of it was, when Daniel went to his room to pray, he didn't go and say, God, please save me from this mess. Daniel did not go and cry. He did not go and complain. Daniel gave thanks. See, there are certain things in your life that need to change, but then the only password you have is thanksgiving. I'm sure, I'm thinking, I said, what kind of prayer was Daniel doing? I'm sure he was saying, thank you, Lord Jesus, for the decree that has been passed. Thank you because I know you're going to spare my life. Thank you. You can imagine, he wasn't saying, God, please don't let me face shame. No, he was thanking God in the difficult situation he had found himself. It's difficult to say thank you when things are hard, but then that's the password to that breakthrough you're waiting for. I don't know what it is you're trusting God for, though, but then you will see how thanksgiving helped Daniel in his situation. He kept giving thanks. And the people, since they were plotters, they came around to see if my guy had fallen into the trap. And as they were moving around, they heard him praying. Quickly, they went to the king and told the king that Daniel is praying. And the king was worried. Why? Because Daniel had found favor in the sight of the king. Remember when they came, the king initially said he was going to make Daniel leader over them. And so for him to have said that, he had already found favor in his sight. So the king was distressed. Daniel, and yes, Daniel had offended you and he had broken the law that had been decreed. So the best thing to do is to punish him and put him in the lion's den, because you had already agreed and you said you were not going to change your mind. See, when the devil wants to hook you. He will sit down strategically and sketch out a plan. That is why we Christians must learn to fight our battles in the secret place so that you can win on the physical. If you don't fight your battles in the secret place, you'll find out that you are losing in the physical and you're wondering how it's happening. The devil too sits down to plan before he comes to attack you. And so after everything, they went to the king and the king was worried. The king was distressed. The Bible says he lost his peace. And for that whole day, he made every effort within his power to see that, I'll just try to change this whole thing. But then it didn't work out. He had already said he cannot change that decree that he had made. And so the next day, they bundled Daniel and took him to the lion's den. And when they took him to the lion's den, I think I'll read this part. Let me not gist you. Let me just tell you the way the king said it. Now the king caved in and ordered Daniel brought and thrown into the lion's den. But he said to Daniel, your God to whom you are so loyal is going to get you out of this. King Darius was not a believer, but he had confidence in Daniel's God, that Daniel's God was going to bring him out of the lion's den. And I'm sure young man Daniel was going into that lion's den and he was struggling and saying, I know that my God will come through for me. I know that my God will not fail me. You can imagine maybe you're going to be put in prison for something you did not do. And you're saying, I know my God will come through for me. My God always comes through for me. My God will not leave me. He will not forsake me. Daniel was also a human being. And so he decided, he said, no, I know that my God will come through for me. My God will not leave me. As he was entering that lion's den, he entered and some people will run out, I'm sure. But then Daniel stood there. And then the Bible said a stone was rolled and it blocked the door to the lion's den. And then at that point, no one could rescue Daniel. In fact, the king's signet was put on the stone to put a sign that this decree cannot be changed. The Bible said the king went back home. He fasted all through the night. As if that was not enough, the normal entertainment they do for him every night did not happen that night. Then the king did not eat, he did not sleep, and he was not entertained. Who is that person that is doing that good thing in his working place or in your school or wherever you found yourself that will take away sleep from the king's eyes? This is not a normal person we are talking about. We are talking about a king not sleeping on your matter. And so at that point, when the king did not sleep, he stayed awake all through the night and was wondering what is happening to Daniel. Has his God abandoned him? Has his God come through for him? But then he had confidence that Daniel's God will be able to save him. Where are you? Where have you found yourself? Can people actually say that because of your faith, they will say that, no, I know that I can trust this person's God because of how this person has lived his life all through. He has shown us that he trusts God, so let's trust God with him. See, when you have faith in God, it's contagious. People around you will tap from that grace. Faith itself is a grace. So once you have it, people around you will begin to tap from it. And so once it was morning, very early in the morning, the king left his palace and went towards the lion's den to find out if truly Daniel's God had saved him. Do you know what it means for a king to leave his palace early in the morning because of a human being that had proven that I will not bow, I hold on to what God has said? And so the king went, and when he got to the lion's den, he shouted out, Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God been able to deliver you? And then Daniel's response was, Hail thee, O king. Like, who will do that? Maybe Daniel would have been angry. This king allowed them to come and lock me up. What if these lions kill me? But no, Daniel still honored and was loyal. Look, when you're going to honor and be loyal to someone, it's not always necessary that the situation has to be convenient. Most times, true honor and loyalty comes when the situation is not even convenient for you. And so he was loyal even when it was not convenient for him. Even when there was a lion with him in that den, he honored the king. And then he said, my God did not find any fault in me. And so he spared my life. He shut the mouth of the lion and the lion could not do anything to me. He didn't find fault with me. And the king also doesn't have fault in me. And so the king was pleased. And the question I would like to throw at you now at this point is, where you are, can people actually say they will not find fault fault at you for other things. At least if they are going to accuse you of anything, they should accuse you for loving Jesus, not accusing you against Jesus. And so the king was pleased and overjoyed that, Daniel's God has come through for him. And so he said immediately, all the people that had planned to put Daniel in the lions den, they should be brought. Now, they were not just them, their wives and children. And so when the devil is deceiving you to destroy somebody, know it that when the punishment comes, when God has reason to fight for his own, he's not just going to punish you, he's going to punish you with your family. So you should spare your innocent family, your wife and your children, and heed to the voice of God. And so at that point, they brought them, and the king said all of them should be put inside the lion's den, and Daniel should be brought out. And the Bible said when they were put into the lion's den, the lions did not even waste time, because I'm sure they were hungry. They destroyed them, ate everything, and till their bones were just there. And so everything happened, and the king actually passed a decree and said to the whole world, may peace be multiplied unto you. That statement carries weight. For the king to actually say that he had experienced the peace from God. Remember the night before, he was distressed, he didn't have peace because of the accusation and Daniel being put in the lion's den. But then he was the one now saying, he was multiplying peace to people. You can imagine, when you experience true peace from God, you won't want anybody to go through trouble, or you won't want to cause trouble for anybody. And so he enjoyed that peace that came from God, and he decreed. And he now said that henceforth, you will all serve the God of Daniel. Can they say you will all serve the God of so person, wherever you found yourself? Because your life, if you're not a true Christian until your life is a book that somebody can read as the Bible, that's where Christianity begins. When I live in life and people can actually see my life and say, I want to be a Christian because of this person, that should be the testimony about you. And today the Lord is going to be releasing the grace unto all of us to receive that grace, to be a testimony wherever you find yourself, to identify yourself as a true Christian, that you learn to take responsibilities as a child of God. You will not people are struggling today because they don't want to take responsibilities and be real children of God. You just want to, I'm a Christian, and you are not living the Christian life. It's not enough that you are a Christian, it's enough that you live the word. Let's learn to live the word wherever we found ourselves. And so after then, he decreed that everybody should serve Daniel's God, because he's a God who doesn't fail. He's a God who performs miracles. He's a God who will always come through for his children, like he did for Daniel. And as he came through for Daniel, he's also going to come through for you. Do not bow to the standards and patterns of the world because of the things you face. Hold on to what God has said. Hold on to his word. Hold on to your convictions. You are on the line of fulfilling purpose and challenges are coming. Hold on to God. It doesn't end there. God is not done with you, and he's going to perfect all that concerns you. And after that, Daniel reigned. Even when King Darius was reigning, he had peace. He reigned and lived a happy life. Not just in King Darius's reign, he also enjoyed peace in Cyrus's reign as well. And this will take us to the next point.